text input. So we can give some custom styling to the text input field as well. For the background color, I will use my own gray color now. Going to use colors.gray. And if I close this, we should already see, yeah, the background here turns gray. I will also give this some more padding left. Padding left of 35. So I really want to move it away, because what we eventually want is to have this white border around it. So we really see there is a white border around this field, and we need to make that happen. And we also, of course, need that icon. Therefore, let's go back here and let's also add text input container styling. That one will actually get a white background. Okay, so we see it already shows up a line, and if I now add padding, I think, yeah, we make it stand out. That looks better. Good, nice. Also, that field should have a border radius of, let's say, 10. Okay, we're pretty close. We also have the intentional padding left here, so we can render an icon at that position. To render an item left, there's also another function we can add. So we can have render left button. You can also have render right button, but of course we want to just render one to the left-hand side. And this one will be, well, it should just be pretty much just an Ionicon, right? Let's see, can we just do an Ionicons? Name should be something like search outline, size 24 and colors medium. What happened? What styling did you add? Styling margin left. Okay, so that renders it like this. This is a problem as it's not correct. What if we use the background color, the same gray that we used? Somewhat okay, but I feel like we need an absolute position. This is not going to work. So I'm going to remove the styling from the Ionicon, and instead I will simply wrap my Ionicon in another view. So let's open a view, style, and this one will get styles dot what do we call this? Box icon. Perfect name, Simon. Perfect. Okay, box icon goes down here. I think that's actually the last thing for this view already, right? So this is going to be an absolute position. From the left, I'm going to be, let's say, I think 15. That should work. And top 18. Okay, so now I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to up the Z index here. Yeah, now we're talking, and I don't even need to set the background color. I think this looks perfect. Speaking about perfect, I think that's our view. So we're initially focused on London. We can hit something like New York, United States. United States. Yeah, that's what it means, of course. It's New York. We can zoom, scroll out as much as we want to. We can select a different location and start again and just quickly jump over to Berlin or my hometown, Münster, Germany. Here we go. I'm living in the south of Münster, and this is Germany, and there's the sea. Yeah. Okay, perfect. And with confirm, we can leave that view. So it wasn't actually too hard to use Google Maps. Just keep in mind, your API key is not safe only because it's in an environment file. The map view might not work if you finally deploy the app. So for go live, for production mode, you're gonna have to follow the guide from Expo to set up the according values in your files. But with that in place, I think we figured out all the overlays. So we have the custom header with a bottom sheet, we have the location full screen modal, and we have the cart modal here with the animation. So I think we are finally ready to actually build out our index page with restaurants and categories. In the next part, we're now going to focus on scroll views and creating some cool components. Especially, we're going to create a component that helps us to render this horizontal scroll view. And we also want to make a reusable card component that we can put into another scroll view. So surrounding this will be another scroll view that goes like here and displays how many cards we have. Same here, of course, this also goes out to how many items we got in that list. And to achieve that, we're using some assets from our file. So I got a home TS, which has some categories for the first scroll view. And then we have like 3 restaurants with some random information that I took previously from the Deliveroo page. So credit again to all of the assets and information from Deliveroo. Okay, we can get into our index file and let's probably clear up what we already had so we can close most of that. In our index file, we now want to render these 2 components. So we can put them in the app directory, so I'm going to add them to my components. The first one will be the categories scroller. So I will just call this categories. And the second component will be a restaurants row, restaurants.tsx. React Native functional export restaurants. Cool. With those 2 in place, we can once go back to our home page, and on the home page render a simple scroll view. So let's use that scroll view, and within that scroll view I'm going to put my categories. So there's nothing else this requires. And below it, we think we had some text, right? So above the restaurant ones, we're gonna add some text. I'm going to use a style again. So we haven't set that up yet, but this will eventually be like the header styling. And then I would say top picks in your neighborhood. Okay, I don't know, British English, American English. I don't really care, I'm from Germany. Style sheet, create, and for my header I'm going to use font size not too big. 24 is probably too big. I'm just going with 800, and I will also of course use font weight bold and some margin bottom actually just a bit less, like margin bottom should be 16, and some padding horizontal to make sure that we stay here. So we don't see anything because our custom header is currently actually blocking this. So we are now going to add a new container styling, and I'm going to wrap my view in a save area view because that will make sure that we also respect the different areas, and I think we have used the save area view before in other screens. So as the styling, we will use styles.container. And now for my container, I will say that we're gonna have some padding at the top of 30. Will this help me? Probably. Let's also set my background color. I currently don't see anything. I feel like my save area view is not yet taking up. I think we need this save area view from React Native save area context. Yeah, well, it's getting better. It's not perfect yet, but once we have our stuff in here, I think this should eventually work. So below this, we would then render the restaurants item, and then we're just gonna repeat that pattern, and I will just call this one offers near you. So we're gonna have something on our screen to scroll. I'm not entirely sure why top 30 is not enough in this case. Maybe I had a different height before. I feel like my header here, the search bar, is quite high. What do we use for the custom header? It looks like this search container is really very, very high. So let's look at this. This is a height of 60 in our search container. What if we give this like a 50? Well, and it's also making like everything smaller. I feel like there's something else at work. What's about the search section? Well, we just get a padding here. Well, it's not too bad actually. I just feel like this is quite the distance here, especially towards the bottom. So we might want to address that, but I'm also not super sure if we have to. So probably we're just going to keep it Most likely, we had this one, we had the attachable opacity. This is actually just the search thing, maybe the search field, but that one also just has a flex 1 on row. There's nothing bad about that search field. And the search section just has a, yeah, there's nothing really messing up the whole styling of that thing. I don't know who exactly is doing all of that padding, but for now we're gonna keep it like it is. Let's implement the categories, the restaurants, and the other restaurants scroller. First of all, let's start with categories. So on that page, I want to first of all bring in the data. So I'm going to import categories from this file, and those categories will be used in my view. Now, this should be a horizontal scroll view. So we're using a scroll view from React Native, and I will tell this to please be horizontal. Make sure you get the import, and then TypeScript should also work. Now it's a horizontal scroller. And in that horizontal scroller, I will map through all the categories that we have and create views for them. They will all have something like styles.category card. Let's call it like that. And for every item in your map block, you should assign a key so that everyone or that React is able to figure it out correctly and make sure there are different elements. We don't have the styles yet, so let's also add them. So style sheet dot create. Yeah, and there will be something in that category card. Also add that up here, and then we should see the first results. Now, in that view, I'm going to give this an exact height and width. So I'm going with a width and a height of 100. Then we already see we can scroll this. So I'm going with the first thing I want to display is the image. That usually really helps to construct the view. So the image source is the category image. And if I render this, no, it's actually the IMG. Yeah, then we have it. We have this ugly scrolling thing at the bottom, but we can get rid of that by saying shows horizontal scroll indicator false. Okay, now we can scroll it just like this. Additionally, do we want to have some styling in there? We might want to have, but at some point. Let's for now also add a text element here, and that should be the category dot text. Okay, so that renders below. Not too bad, but most likely we're gonna need some styling in here as well. So this will be category text, and I will put it down here as well. That should probably have something like a bit of padding. Does it already work? And the font size, yeah, really small font size, but still a big font weight. Okay, yeah, that looks somewhat good. Now I want to make sure that these items are actually white and have a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to make sure that the background here is using the right color. I think our index page, I don't know if the index page is, or yeah, it's using a white background. I don't want that. I definitely want to have colors light gray. That's what we usually use for the background. So now we got the light gray background. And with that, we should also be able to give the category card a background color white. Okay. There should also be some padding between these elements. How do we do this? I think we need to do something with a margin. Let's say we give each of them a margin of 10. Then we have this nice separation. We also want some padding here. I think if we want to inject styling into the scroll view now, we're going to use the content container style. Otherwise, it will complain how you inject the styling. And within here, you can say something like padding 15. So now it stands out more. And I think this is already pretty close to our desired result, isn't it? Also, I feel like no, we don't have to be that far away from the top anymore. Yeah. Now it totally makes sense. Now this looks a lot better. Cool. We also wanted to give this some elevation. So let's use an elevation of 2 for Android. Elevation. And then we can define our shadow color. So for shadow color, I'm just going with black usually, and then make sure that the shadow offset works. So let's use something like this, height 2, maybe just height 4. And then we also need the shadow opacity. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Maybe we can make this even more visible. Just a tiny notch here. I think this is actually really not too bad, isn't it? We have our font. The font doesn't really need background, but I think it could be more centered. What if we give this... No, not like that. Justify content, or that... it's not really working here, right? We have just the full width. So I could probably give this more padding, but that won't change a lot. But anyway, I in general feel good about this. Although this could actually be 14, like it's not that small in this one. Yeah, I think this comes pretty close. Just some border radius up here. Border radius, give it a border radius of 4, and voila, you have an epic slider. We have the padding at the start and end, as we can see here. So it will be nicely aligned with our 16 padding that we usually have in all the places, and also for the end, this. So you see these like mental lines that you can draw. They're usually pretty good if you can stick to them. In here we have the same. So we scroll this back. We should see that here is basically aligned, and this is where everything is aligned. So once you do something that is not aligned, same for here, this is also just aligned. Once you see this, it just feels off, and you should always keep an eye on that. Anyway, this is our first scroller, and I think we did a pretty good job with that one. Now, the interesting thing is I think we can just copy this over for now. We can copy this over to restaurants. Just making sure that this is now once again called restaurants. I don't want to import anything. And for the restaurants, we are going to exactly import that data. And we still have the same scroll view now in our restaurants view. We want a horizontal scroll. We might have to limit the height a bit. We're going to see that. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to start by mapping through the restaurants. And every item will eventually link to something. So we're going to add the link component around it. The href will be set. So I'm going to set this for the moment just to the slash path, but we could easily now link to like a details page of that restaurant. We're going to use the key, and just like before, we are using schild, as we will wrap another component or multiple components in that view. Oh, that's actually a nice start. Like, I didn't expect that. That happened really fast. However, we should also use a touchable opacity once again. Touchable opacity from React Native, wrapping this around the actual view, and that view can stick to the category card. The only thing I want to change is that this should be 300 in width and 250 in height. So as you can see, this is going to be a lot bigger. These are bigger cards. Also top picks in your neighborhood. This is not aligned, but we're gonna maybe fix that later. Let's stick with this view for now. So we have the category card. We don't need the index in here again. So like this. And then we have, first of all, a really big image. So this is going to be the restaurant, not the... so this should be the restaurant image. Okay, that image is probably a bit too big. Let's say we're going with a little image container. And that image container... goes around the image. I wonder if we just supply styled in here and say that this one has like a flex 1. That's not too bad. I mean, that's not too bad. But the width, let's try something. Let's give this a width of undefined. Yeah. And do I have to still set the height as well, or? Oh, well, it won't really change. But giving it a width of undefined, Yeah, flex1 to take up the full space, but then width undefined. That should work. So then it's just using the inherent width, styles.image. And I'm going to add this down here. So that would be a different way to create your styling. Just try it inline, basically, and then later create the object in the styling down here. Now, below this, we also need the actual information. So we not just only need the image, but we want that block with information. So let's see how we can fit that into our card. We're gonna do this still in the touchable opacity. We're still doing this within the category card. But I wanna do this now behind this. I'm going to give this some new styling. So styles.category box. And within the category box, we're going to have some text elements. So we're going to have something like the restaurant.name and more information to come. So let's add category box. I'm actually not sure if we use or will need the other one. Okay, that shows nicely below this already. That's not too bad. Well, let's see. I think we can just do this pretty easy. So the category box here and the image are both in a flex layout. Right now, they take up just like some automatic space. If I tell this category box to use up like flex1, both would use the equal space. If I want to have like one thing take up about 60% and the other 40%, we can combine these different flex values. So if I give to the image, let's say 5, okay, yeah, and then for the category box we use like 2. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think that should be, or 3. Maybe actually just 2 should be fine. Isn't that nice? I really like that view. I think this should be enough for us to create our box. Only the category box should have more padding. So padding of 10 to make the text stand out. But besides that, wow, this is so clean. It just works. Like, I didn't expect we need less CSS than I had prepared. But that's good. That's good. So we have the restaurant name. We also want to have like the rating and how far it is, just some more general information. So I'm just going to put this here. We have restaurant.rating. And then we have restaurant.ratings. Okay, they should have some different styling. So I will not use this one. I will just use colors.green. Oh, I forgot the import. Colors.green. So then it shows up like this. Oh, we added the padding to the category text, I guess. Category box. Category text. Does the category text have padding as well? Okay, padding. Let's say padding vertical, just in case. The category text. I wonder. So for this one, and now they're aligned. This works. This seems to work. Okay, good. And we need another text object. Let's use colors medium here, and this is restaurant distance. So the different properties from like a JSON that you might reserve from a server could be displayed in here. And as we can see, they have different values, and I could change them around now in the assets file. Where's the assets file? Data.home. So we had Vapiano, we had Urban Greens. Let's say this is about 1.7 miles away, and El Minero is about 3 miles away. And we could just swap around the different things that we had in here. And of course, it would just show up. It would use the images. Once again, we're using require. If you got a JSON response from your API, you would usually just have the string, like an HTTP string, to a server. So you don't really need like a require in here. This is only because we're right now making use of the local assets. With that in place, let's go one time back to the index, because I think there was something I wanted to fix in here. So in the index page, the header has a margin bottom of 16. But what about the top distance? Let's say margin top. Well, if it's also 16, then it doesn't really make sense. We should give it less, like 8 here maybe. Yeah, maybe that's good. Like double here, half there. And I feel like this was really fast compared to the other views, but now we really see like a lot of the screens in this application are coming together, and that's just how you build applications, one screen by the other. One component, then the next component, just structure it, make sure you're using the right colors, like have some global colors like we do have, respect the padding and margin here and there, and at the end, you're gonna be surprised what you're able to achieve. Now, what I don't like is that at the bottom, our save area view has some issues. So how could we set this like with the edges? Okay, so we won't use the edges as that will just confuse us, and use the save area view and apply it only to specific portions of like top, bottom, left or right. But instead we will do something with a scroll view, because that is the actual problem here. So for the scroll view, we can once again set the content container style, as we can't do this just with the styling, and set something like padding bottom to 40. So right now, of course, covering this once again. Problem down here is that this is definitely too close to the bottom. So I'm going with padding bottom 40 now. And now we see that there's some padding left in our scroll view. Good. With that, we have finished the home view. We now have this scrollable component up here. We have the scrollable component up here. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna dive into the details page once we click on a restaurant. And we're gonna do this for just one fictional restaurant. We're not really using any other information, but it's still going to be really challenging. Alright, so let's get started with the details page, and this is going to be a bit challenging, especially in the first part. I mean in general, but especially right now, because we're going to use a little bit of an outdated package that we're going to have to update ourselves. So here on the left side, you should see my application. Actually, let's do this one. I can draw better. This is the official application of a details page, and now look at this. This is called a parallax effect. This simply means, well, if we scroll down, the image zooms in, and if we scroll up, you can see that the background moves slowly, and the foreground, so this here, like all the content here, is the foreground, and this is basically the background image. So the background moves out slower than the foreground, which gives this nice effect. On top of that, we see we have no status bar, but at a certain point, we're gonna have actually a white bar up there with the name inside. And we're gonna be able to replicate that to at least, let's say 90%, I would say. So this is a bit challenging, but we're up for a task now. So here we go. We are going to use a package called React Native Parallax Scroll View. So if you look at this package, everyone should fear this. This is the nightmare of a React Native developer, a package that is not really maintained anymore. There are like 22 pull requests at this point, and probably we could use one of those pull requests, but I'm going to follow a bit different approach here just to show you how you could use this, because in this case, using that package is quite simple. There's just an index.js and a styles file. So what I want to do is I want to copy the content here of this file. So all the content of that file, and I'm going to create my own file. Yeah, some solutions are like installing the package and then patching the node modules folder. I'm not really a big fan of that approach, to be honest. So no, this is not a scroll view. This is the parallax scroll view. And I'm going intentionally with JS, because if I use TS in this case, it's gonna completely blow up and light up in all the places. And I don't want to fix all the TypeScript issues. Additionally, this file has some styles defined, so I'm just going to copy over these styles and I'm going to apply them, like put them in here. Oh, I copied two, not enough, I think. Yeah, I need to copy that outer styles as well. Sorry. So let's get that back and let's put this in. I might have to add style sheet if we don't have the import yet from React Native. So let's go up here. And usually once I start using this component, React Native will also complain about a bunch of other things. So we have module exports, let's just say export default in this case here. Export default, and I'm not sure what's it called, like details? How is it called? Properties, parallax, scroll view. Okay. Sounds like a plan. So export default parallax scroll view. Okie dokie. That should work. So let's close this and let's try to integrate this. For this, we're going to my index page, or actually to the restaurants, because that's where we're going to click on them. We already have the link in here. Do we already have a details component? No, we don't. So let's add that. Details.tsx. Now, in a real world scenario, you would of course pass some information to that page, like the ID of the restaurant, then you would resolve the information. We're going to do this just with some static information, but replacing is, to be honest, won't be too hard, since we still load the data from a JSON file. Now, in my details page, which I should be able to access, right? I'm going ahead now. And I'm going to wrap this here and use the parallax scroll view. Can we get a closing fragment, and can we get a parallax scroll view? So that parallax scroll view lives under components parallax scroll view. Expected corresponding closing tag. Oh, I already immediately closed this. Okay, good. Now we get this. We should probably reload this, because if I add files, Expo is usually confused what I'm doing. So I'm just going with a little reload here. And then we most likely see another issue pop up. So unable to resolve something, could not be found within the project, unable to resolve from app details. Okay, parallax scroll view, scroll. Oh yeah, I gave it a lowercase. I should make sure that I use the right naming conventions in the right places. Stopping server. Otherwise, you can also use clear sometimes, as I said. Sometimes this is the fix. But in this case, I think we're with a different problem. Could not be found within. I'm pretty sure that this can be found because it actually links exactly to this page. So my friend, we go with clear. Here we go. I'm going to close that. Expo clear for the win. Once again, bundling, opening up iOS, and then we'll most likely see a new issue. Styles has already been declared. Okay, we can live with that. So that's the cool thing about TypeScript. If you use it, it really helps to solve all of these issues. So I'm not going to require styles in here. I'm just going with this approach. If I reload now, we see it's loading, and another issue. So view prop types will be removed from React Native. This is another issue. We recommend that you migrate away. So I didn't want to fix all of these issues with a package, as I said. And the easiest solution to this is to simply install the deprecated React Native prop types. And then we go into the parallax scroll view once again, and we add the view prop types from React deprecated here. And once we get that, I'm definitely going to kill the server again, because the new package might have confused Expo, and I certainly don't want to do that. Let's see, are we actually using the view prop types? We do. View prop types has already been declared. Oh yeah, we did import it from React Native, so we definitely need to change that. So we're using the view prop types from the deprecated React Native prop type package. And now we are finally able to get here with a different error. But that error is actually good, because we have not supplied any real view, any image to the parallax scroll view. But I think so far we have fixed the general usage of the parallax scroll view. So that was really important to me. Okay, so we go with these, and we're on the details page. Okay, on the details page for the parallax scroll view, I'm going to start with, not with this, but with style, and I'm going to give it flex 1. And I think we should put at least a view inside with, yeah, whatever, and some text maybe as well. Can we just get the right import the first time I do this? No, not possible, not today. But at least I can make a details tag. Okay, we close the view, we close the parallax scroll view, and we hit save. And input range, okay, yeah, we still need a few things to be set up. Maybe we should also consult the package, then we should probably see what we need. So maybe if I just give the default stuff, it could already render. So let me try this out. They're creating an animated component. Oh, you're crazy. You're really crazy in here. I don't want to do that at all. So I want to stick to what works. So let's try. We're gonna set the background color first. Background color. Also, if we had configured this correctly, we might be able to use TypeScript in here. So that would be really, really helpful. But we haven't, so we gotta live with what we got. We also need to define the parallax header height. So let's set this to some value. And I wonder if that is, oh, that's already enough. Nice, we got the package working, you see? Oh, that's cool. That's hard, right? Cool, nice. So, oh, that feels so good. Like now I was scared that we wouldn't see like the real stuff for quite some time, but now we got this. So style sheet coming from React Native, and we're gonna start with a little container styling. So let's call everything that is in the application the details container. And I will use the background color gray. So we import from our colors once again light gray. And we will add this as the styling for our view. So we don't really need to use height in here, I think. Styles.details containers, and then we have a gray background in here. And instead of having a red background, I will actually use a white background. So that will get rid of the effect. I mean, we can still somewhat see it in here. Yeah, somewhat. But overall, we just want to display an image here. So the image of our restaurant. So therefore, let's import the restaurant data. And this looks like this. So again, this could be just JSON coming from your API. We have some foods, which we're gonna display in a little list. We're gonna get into that later. For now, we're just interested in like the general information up here. And to present the general information, we're gonna have to show the background. So we're gonna implement a function here now. Let's call this one render background. Well, I mean, it's not our name, it's inside the package. We just don't have the code completion of TypeScript right now. And we want to display a React Native image. And the source is going to be our restaurant.image. If we hit save, you see, this is why I wanted to use this package. It is not cool. It is 7 years outdated and not updated since 5 years or for 5 years. There are tons of pull requests, but actually with minimal effort and changes in the JS file, we are still able to make it work. So kudos to the official creators from back then, and I think this package deserves more love. So I hope maybe after this tutorial, somebody picks up work, makes a fork that works, because a parallax scroll view is really important in many applications. And the usage of this package is just unbelievable easy. So we got this, which is really, really cool. Now, what else do we need? We actually want to have a different header in this view. So we want to have a sticky header. Can we make sure that, why are you not rendering this on separate lines? I just don't understand VS Code sometimes. It would make so much more sense to just render it like this. I don't know why. If I hit save, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be lost again. So there is a way to render a sticky header, which would look, yeah, basically like this. So it's not visible right now, but once you scroll up, it becomes visible and fades in. So for that, we have to set a specific parallax header height. and there are many more properties that we can set. So I'm going to show you how we configure it, that it makes sense for our case. First of all, we're adding another function, render sticky header. So inside of render sticky header, we are returning our custom header view. And this view, I think, needs a key of sticky header. And we also need some styling. I actually don't know what we're going to use yet. Probably going to call this styles.sticky section. Would that make sense? Yeah, I feel so. Sticky section. That goes to our styling down here. And for sticky section, maybe we're going to set the background color for now. It's usually nice for debugging. So we have render sticky header, which should render the header, but we haven't set that. So we're going to set the sticky header height. Let's set it to 50. And I think there's another property to make sure, that we have the parallax header height set. Okay, this is maybe, by the way, too big. We're going to set this to 250. And we can see that there's the bar coming in. So this is our sticky header in action. Then we use the right styling. Yeah, it's probably not applying this yet, but we're gonna fix that as well. But what we see is that should be actually up here. So we have a problem with the default React navigation. So that means we want to hide that instead on use our custom sticky header implementation. So we can use another layout effect therefore. So let's use layout effect, which is called when this page renders. And within the layout effect, we are going to change the appearance of our header. That's usually a good place. So let's add navigation equals use navigation from the Expo router. And because underneath the Expo router there is still the React navigation package, we can directly use the navigation in here and call the same stuff that you might have used before. Okay, this is navigation set options for your header options with React navigation. Okay, so I want to have my header transparent. So I'm going with true. That already changes to this. That's good. That's a good start. Besides that, what I want to do as well, I will hide the title. Header title should be empty. The header tint color should be my primary color, because remember what we want to see is this. In the default state, we want to see this. So we're going with primary, and we have to supply our own icons for header right and header left. Header right is actually a view with two icons. So on the right hand side we see we got those two icons, on the left hand side we got one. Maybe we start with header left because it's easier. Header left, there we go. I just want to make sure that I close all the stuff. Okay, yeah, I'm closing it now. So now the arrow is gone, but I'm going to just replace this with the touchable opacity. Touchable opacity from React Native. Just add the import when I click on it. I don't know, what's your problem? And of course, this one should just bring me back. So that's the back arrow. So we can say on press, we're going to use our navigation that we already added and call go back as always from this page. Additionally, I want to, I really don't know why it's just not displaying this on two lines. Additionally, we're adding the Ionicon, so we could use iOS arrow back. Doesn't really matter, just arrow back would be fine. Color primary and style margin left. I don't think we need that. I don't think. But the touchable opacity needs some styling. So let's add a styling to the overall button, as we're gonna definitely reuse that. So let's call this round button. And let's go down here and round button. Okay, round button should have a width and height of 40. and a background border radius, of course, and a background color of white. Okay, that's good. That's a good start. Now we just need to, yes, justify and align the items. And then our back button is done. And we can just copy that over to the header right as well. So header right, let's implement the same stuff, but now header right. I don't want to have a typo, but in this case, I'm going to wrap this in a view and then have the two touchable opacities in there, as we're gonna have two next to each other. So let's call the style here styles.bar, something like that. Really creative, Simon. And that bar should of course have a flex direction of row. Otherwise, we want to see we would see the items below each other. Nonetheless, we're gonna align the items in the center. We're gonna justify the content in the center. I want to have a little gap between them. So now I'm just copying over my two touchable opacities into this bar. I could actually have like 3, and we see both show up here. We just need to give them some different icons. So let's give this one up here share outline. And then with the second one, what was the second one? Search, right? Search outline. Okay, that looks pretty nice. I just want to remove the on press handler, since those buttons will actually not really have a functionality in our dummy. And that one looks, I think that looks pretty good. However, at this point, I don't see my sticky header. So I'm a bit worried about the sticky section right now. We do render my sticky header here and give it the... Oh, there's actually nothing inside of the sticky section. We should probably change that. So in the sticky section here, we're going to render a little text element. Yeah, let's just try a sticky header for now. Okay, we see it up there. So the only problem we have right now is that it's in the wrong place. But if you see something on the screen, that's progress. That's always good. So we will just play around with the different styles here. So let's go with a styles dot sticky section text here. Oh yeah, that's totally not how you spell my styles. And instead of showing sticky header, we can, by the way, just use restaurant.name. And it feels good to have some code compilation once again. So sticky section text. How's the sticky section text? Well, nothing too fancy, but we're gonna make sure that it's, I think it's using the black color by default, right? Yeah, there's the name. But probably we want a bigger font size. I want a font size of at least 20 and probably also some margin. So yeah, that gets better. Now, the only problem is that our sticky section is in the wrong place. So it should be further down. When we scroll down, let's do a quick comparison. If I scroll down here, it looks like the standard header bar you're used to. So we're gonna have to make sure that it is further down in the page. How do we do this? Let's see. I'm going with a margin left here because the text would currently be above the icon. So if I do it like this, it would be in the right place. That's actually not too bad. I also will give this a fixed height of 100. So it's a bit bigger, I think. But now we just need to find a way to make sure that this sticky section is actually not up there. So let's see. We have the sticky header height. I'm going to up this a bit. So now, if I use it like this, we see it's a little bit of a fake. But I think we should be able to use this to our advantage. If I now just place the name in the right space here, we might have a chance to see this correctly. So that means we just need to play around a bit with the numbers here. So additionally, I want to have the Okay, I haven't said that yet, so we can also define the content background color real quickly. Colors.light gray. This would also change for our overall page here. So now it applied the color. Let's change this to primary. So it applied the light gray down here. That was missing as well. Light gray. Okay, cool. And up there, I want to make sure that Vapiano is actually displayed at the end of this. So within sticky section, I will give this justify content, not center as we always do, but something called flex end. So that would align the items down there. If we now see what's happening when the sticky header comes in, it's actually nicely positioned with our items. I can just go for a white background here. And let's see. I think that's not too bad, isn't it? The header is maybe a bit too big. So we might be able to chop something off that, which is the sticky header height. Yeah, that's the sticky header height. But now I think this is almost perfect. Like, look at this. Look at the comparison. Like, it just fades in. You just need to get the timing right. But yeah, it's like a tiny bit different. But from what I can see, I really enjoy this. I wonder how are the buttons? The buttons, yeah, it just does it like on one snap immediately. We could probably fake that as well. But I think I'm kind of happy about our setup as well. And how we did it. It feels really natural to me, and I don't think any of your customers would complain about how we rendered it in here. So we got the image. The image is actually a bit too big. We might want to change this. So where we render the background, we are able to, of course, use some styling as well. So let's see. I want to use 100% of the width. Yeah, okay. And let's give it a smaller height. So the height of this parallax background, I think, was 300. Yeah, so now we can definitely see more of that image. I think that feels better than just being zoomed into one pizza. I really like this parallax. I always love to implement parallax. And it was really somewhat easy with that package. I mean, it wasn't perfect with the JS, but we could easily, or with some effort, convert this to TypeScript, and then we would have all of this. So again, kudos to the creator here, and you might be able to create a pull request or fork or this and like make this updated. But for now, we're happy with this, and now we can focus on the details below. Alright, we got this cool parallax scroll view, but now it's time to focus on the details below. So what we want to achieve is something like this. We will later talk about this section up here. That's going to be something special, but for now we want to do this. And this is a super great example for using a section list. So you can use a scroll view, you can use a flat view for items, or if you have different sections which group stuff together, you can use a React Native section list, which usually looks like this. You can have these pieces sticky or not, you can design them however you want, and we will do exactly that and style them to our needs to achieve the images and the different information for the dishes of that restaurant. So before we do the section list, however, let's quickly show a few more information about the restaurant. So I want to present the restaurant.name, which is usually shown below that, and therefore I'm going to need some more styling. So this should be something like styles restaurant name. Eventually we will then have something like the restaurant description. Did I just cut this out? Restaurant description. And that should be, actually that's going to be a bit more challenging in here. And also I managed to once again miss that name. Okay, so restaurant name is just going to be a bit bigger, most likely, and restaurant description should be a list of some text that we're going to display, but we can easily loop through these texts. For example, we can show something like the delivery, restaurant.delivery. Yeah, there's delivery. And then we're also going to use the high dot again that we already used before. to put this between them. Then we're gonna show all the text of the restaurant. So if you check this out, there are like different texts in an array. And we can display this by simply mapping through this real quickly. So just go with restaurant.text. I mean, we could join them. But I want to make sure that we don't include this for the last tag. So we got tag and index here, and I want to show, we could probably just put, I mean, we're already in a text element, so we don't need another text element here. I just want to show the actual tag. Let's use a string literal. Tag, and then if the index is below that, I want to show this high dot, not a comma, and otherwise an empty. Yeah, that makes somewhat sense. The only thing is someone is not happy about this, so we probably don't even need brackets in the first place here. What are you now mad about? Restaurant index, comma expected. What kind of comma? I don't want a comma here. I just want to close this and close whatever. Too many brackets. So we definitely need one regular closing bracket. I think that was too many. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, we got the name, we got the text. So now we just need the styling for that section. So the restaurant name, as I said, is just going to be a lot bigger. So something like, yeah, font size 24 or even 30. And we're going with some margin here as well. We will overall use a margin of 16 in most places. Yeah, that looks pretty legit. And for the restaurant description, I want to use a smaller font size of like 16. Still same margin. Yeah. I mean, I want a general margin of 16. Then it looks like this. And I will also set a different line height. So if we do this, we should get a bit more separation between the items. And finally, let's use our colors. So color should be colors. Not gray, I think we can't see that. Something like medium probably. Or medium dark. No, that should be enough. I think that's fine. Still like that. Maybe that margin is too much, but yeah, whatever. Let's just go with that. Okay, we got that information. Now we're going to put in a little about text that we should have. So where are we? We're here in this inside view. So going with a little text element, and we're rendering restaurant.about. So that should be a bit longer text. And again, adding some styling for that one as well. This is probably our, not the, I mean, we can just use description again. I don't know. Does it look good? I mean, it's okay. We can live with that. If you want to, just use a different color, but that's not really the critical piece here. So now let's add our section list. Section list from React Native. That section list first of all needs some sections, and that's going to be a problem because if we check out the official implementation of the section list, we see that the data looks like this: title and data. I mean, that's a nice structure for a section list. I'm going to scroll in a bit so you can see this better, but we're gonna have to bring our data into that same format. So let's create a value up here. I'm going to call this data just like they did. And what we need to do is we need to map through the elements of our restaurant. So restaurant.food.map. So we're going through every item we have. And I will also keep track of the index here. And I will return the title. In fact, we can make this even faster if we remove return and we just put it like this. So we're just returning an object here. I think we have enough brackets now. Yeah. So we got then the item category. If we check this out, for every food item, there's a category and there are meals. and we need to assign that information in the structure that we had here. So that's a nice little task of creating this structure from our app. But usually Copilot or any easy tool can figure this out. So data will be the meals. I will also include the index just in case we might need that. So this is the data for my section list. Let's add this to the section list. We already got that. Will this already render, I wonder? No, not really yet. Because we need the render item function usually. So render item, just like inside a flat list, we need to tell how the actual item renders. So every item will get the item and an index. Let's see if I got the brackets right. Yes, should be like this. And then we can actually, no, I got this. These are the right brackets. This should be right. And let's just try and render a view or some kind of text element just to see that our stuff is working. So item.name would be the title of that meal. Okay, here we go. We got a little warning, or actually an error about virtual list should not be nested inside plain scroll views. The problem is that our parallax scroll view that we added to this page already defines a scroll view. You can look into the implementation, you're gonna see that the main part here, the children, are already wrapped in a scroll view. So what we can do to overcome that problem is to our section list, we're going to add scroll enabled false. So you might think, oh, then I can't scroll, but we can anyway scroll that whole container. So that is actually not a big problem. Okay, this looks pretty nice. We also should set for the section list a key extractor. So the key extractor in this case, we have item plus index. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much, but I think we need to make, or should make this a little string instead. So just use a string literal in here and make sure you don't mess up the brackets. You can use item.id, so that should be the ID of something plus the index, just making it somewhat unique. And it would be so cool if you could just show everything below each other. I don't know what's wrong with this rendering. Okay, so we got all these dishes in here. I feel like we don't really have the actual section header. So what is the section header in our case? We need to render that as well. So next to our render item, we're going to place a render section header function. This one gets also an object, and we got the section, which consists of a title and an index. Okay. Once again, making sure that we don't mess up the stuff in here. Then we can render whatever we want. So I will actually just render a text for the section header. So let's just render a test. And then we already see we have the section headers between different dishes. That's pretty cool. However, of course, I don't want to display test. I want to display the actual title. So now we have meal deals, pasta, something else, something else, something else. And of course, that section needs some styling. So styles dot, let's call this section header. And I'm adding the section header down here. So of course, that section header should have a bigger font size than the rest of the stuff. Actually, I'm going with 22. And the section header should also have a bold font weight and some margin top. So that is really important, because without that, everything will look the same, just like it does right now. But with the right amount of margin top and some general margin, we're gonna see that now the list stands out. We also see that we have a little issue down here with our styling because we're in the container of the parallax scroll view. In order to overcome that, we can just add some padding to our list. And whenever you're using something like a section list, flat list, anything, you usually want to use the content container style. So I'm just getting this like a padding bottom of 50. And now if we check this out, we see that we got more padding to the bottom here, and everything in it looks good. Especially the section headers already look pretty nice. there should also be like a separator between the items here. So we can define now as well an item separator component, just like we previously, I think, used something like a header component that was cool. Now we got this item component. I'm going to use a view, yes, with a style height of 1, but I'm going to use the gray color because otherwise we don't really see this. So now we see that we got lines, but if you look closely, there's no line here below and there's no line above. We just have these lines in between, and that's a problem, but not a problem for us. We can just copy over this part here, and instead of calling this item separator, we now call this section separator component. So yeah, the sections do have separator components as well. And as a result, you see now we also got a line down here and a line up here. And of course, same for all the other sections in there. Great. We made really big progress. The only thing we need to implement now is the actual view of one of these meals or dishes or whatever you want to call them. So we are now implementing the render item. If you want to, you can extract this into its own function. Do we want to do this? Yeah, why not? So we're going with render item here. List render item. I actually don't really have a type for meal, so I'm going to have to say any. And this will return something like a view. Yeah, that's probably not the right thing, but I will just want to have something quickly to show you. So render item should now be completely replaced by my render item. Okay, actually not too bad for a start, right? This is a nice section list. I mean, just add a few more images and you're pretty good to go. But anyway, we're doing this on our own. So I will also wrap all of this in the link component. Going to use href, but I won't define this yet. I will just say slash. Later on, this will open a modal, but for now, I will just wrap it like this. Okay, so that should be fine. I'm going to wrap this around this, and also I don't want to have a view. This should actually be a touchable opacity, so I can touch this stuff. For the style, I'm going to rip this out and just call styles.item. So this should be a like pretty standard item styling with some white background, I think, just to make sure we are doing this correctly. Let's use a white background for the item, some padding of 16, that was our number for this view, I think. And of course, the flex direction should be set to row, so we can display all the things next to each other. That looks already pretty cool. I really like the section list, to be honest. Like, I don't use it that often, but when I do, I really enjoy it. So we got that. Now in my touchable opacity, we have a few items. So we have this first part here, and then we have an item. So in that row, there are just two views. So this would be view 1 and this would be view 2. That means this first view will then also have a column layout again. So this part here. Therefore, I'm going to wrap all of this now in another view, and that view should take up most of the space. So again, using flex 1. If I do it like this, this view takes up most of the available space in the row. After that, there's only the image. The source will be set to my image, and then I'm going to not do this inline. I will call style.dishImage, and dishImage will be just a specific width and height. I'm going with a height of 80, width the same, and a little border radius. So that looks pretty good, I think. And we're pretty close to the finished result already. We just need to implement the first part of that view. So we have the dish name, we have the description, and we have the price. So that means more styling. Let's copy this over. So this should be a dish. Then this is the dish text. And we need this another time. And this one will display the info. And here we are just adding a dollar sign. I'm just expecting dollars. So dish text, and yeah, again dish text. Down, 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 dish text, and dish. We just need to make sure that we implement this somewhat closely to the original. So let's set a font size of 16 here. Size 16 for the dish, and a font weight of bold. Good. That looks pretty close already. Now let's just give this one the same font size. I think is it the same? It might be smaller. It might be smaller. Let's try 14, how that looks. And of course we need to change the color to a bit gray color. So let's go with fail to prop style. Where did I go wrong? I'm sorry. What did I miss? Props colors. Oh yeah, it's of course not colors, it's color. I'm sorry. I think we need the medium dark color in this place. Yeah, that's probably, yeah, we see the click event works. And I feel like this list is pretty good. We have the section headers, which have some more margin to the top. We have the separators in all the places. Probably the item separator could actually have some padding horizontal, so these item separators are not going through completely. But that's a minor detail. We can just fix this in the item separator component. If we say this one has like a padding horizontal of, I don't know, 10. And making sure. Sorry, item separator. Sometimes mess up horizontal and yeah, that seems to work. I don't know how much we're going to use. 20? Yeah, I think this is cool. I mean, it's maybe too much, but no, actually I think it's good. Maybe we could use 16 because that was like our magic number all the time. So we have the different items in here. The dish text could get some more padding. I feel like the dish text, just some padding vertical, not too much, just like 4 or 2. Yeah, just a tiny bit of separation can go a long way. Like, do you see the difference? Everything is so close together. Padding vertical 4, feels a lot nicer. And here we go. We got the menu for that restaurant implemented, working nicely alongside the parallax scroll header that we added before. So I think this is already pretty cool. You can imagine how that would be used, just the stuff from one restaurant, from the JSON, if you have a server implemented that returns the data. But for us, this should be enough. All right, we're ready for the last missing piece of this view. So we got the parallax view, we got the section list, but if we check out the official application, we're gonna notice that after scrolling for a while, this cool bar up here appears. So we're now talking only about this bar. We can call this like sticky segments or whatever you prefer. And the cool thing is we can click these segments and it would scroll the list. However, I wasn't able to completely achieve that functionality, but I still thought that having this animation appear after some time and just having this horizontal sticky scrollable list would be a cool addition to our application. So we're going to implement this. As I said, it's not 100% there. The problem comes from, once again, this parallax scroll view package. So in case you don't want this, I'm pretty sure we could do this. So you can manually scroll view to a certain position, but right now we have this surrounding parallax scroll view, and maybe, yeah, it was pretty hard to actually access its own scroll view. So with a bit of TypeScript and refactoring of that scroll view, I'm pretty sure it would be possible to achieve this. So without further ado, let's do this. We are now going to put our view behind the parallax scroll view because it should be outside of it. And also we're going to use React Native reanimated. So we're directly saying, okay, this is going to be an animated view. Within that animated view, we're going to have some stuff, and then we have our view. Probably we're going to start here with an array, and then we can give our styles. So styles dot, this should be something like sticky segments. And then we're gonna have another view to mimic the shadow, because that's actually not that easy to achieve. So we're doing another view, but that one does not have to be animated. So I'm just going to call this one styles dot segments shadow. Okay, and this one should be around the rest of this view. And then we got our actual scroll view component. That's not too complicated. This one should just scroll horizontal. It should not show the horizontal scroll stuff, so segments shadow. The import should hopefully be already there, but I don't want to do whatever they added in here. We might have some content container styling, so I can keep it in there for the moment. Additionally, the scroll view needs to be closed, and within we would map through the restaurant.food. So if we go through the food, we have the different categories, and that's what we want to display at the top. So summer specials, antipasti, insalata, whatever it might be. So category, that's what we need. So we map through all the food, and for every item we will create a touchable opacity, because we actually need the touch feedback. And we will set the key to the index. Style should also, well, the style's actually complicated. We're gonna do this probably later. And on press, we don't really have to implement it yet. So then we have text, which will also get some conditional styling. So I'm going to remove it for the second and just use item.category. Okay, we got sticky segments and the segments shadow that we should add. And this one was segments shadow. Okay, we're gonna implement that later. For the moment, let's see what's missing. That's apparently missing. No, let's see. We close this, we close that, we close the scroll view. I feel like we should do another bracket, yeah. Okay, now it is not really anywhere in our view, so we should get started probably by positioning it at least somewhere in our view. So let's go to the sticky segments and tell them to use an absolute position. I want to give them a height of 50. And we see it already appears up here. I want to make sure that we start at 0. From the top, we actually need some distance. We need some distance. I think 110 is the right distance. Yeah, that looks somewhat correct. And I think that's actually pretty good. We also need a background color. Background color should be white. Oh, come on. Yeah. So don't worry that this is not completely what we wanted to see yet. We're gonna fix that in a second. Actually, 110 might be 10 off. Yeah, that looks better. Yep, and we should probably also say right 0, so it spans the whole width. There we go. So now we got this. Don't worry about the other sizing of that box. We will eventually figure that out. So the shadow will be implemented later. I don't really care about it right now, but we're gonna have styling, of course, for some buttons within, and those buttons will also have a text, so segment text. Now, you can already imagine, or maybe you can imagine what comes next. If you check this out, we see we have different styling for the active and the inactive buttons, and that's what we need. So we need conditional styling. We will apply this to the element, but we first of all need to actually define them. So let's see, the segment button, maybe we can give this to our touchable already. So styles, style.segment button, and the text should most likely have the segment button text. However, what did I call this? Segment text? Yeah, should be fine as well. However, we need to check which is the active index right now. So I'm going to use some state up here. Let's say const active index, set active index. I'm going to use 0 at the beginning. So then we can use this active index, and we can actually already, if we want to add a little function in here, to set our setter category. So const select category that would receive an index, and then we could set the active index to the new index. We're gonna do a few more cool things in here later, but for now that should be enough. And with that active index, we can now check in the styling. Where's the styling? Here we go. We got my touchable opacity up here. So instead of doing it like this, I will say, is the active index equal to the current index? Well, in that case, please use a different styling than in the other case. So we can do dots here, so styles segment button active. Otherwise, I would just use the segment button. And now, whenever the active index changes, the styling would change as well. And we're going to apply pretty much the same logic down here. So if the active index is the current index, I'm going with segment text index active, and otherwise just segment text. So we need segment button active as well as segment text active. Can you figure that out? Yes, thanks. There we go. So here we go. Let's probably add a bit of stylings. We're gonna start with the segment button active. Background color in that case would be our primary color. And we're going to use some padding horizontal, like padding horizontal 16. That already looks okay. I can already see that we need the color white here and a bigger font weight. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Probably font size something like 16, a bit bigger. For the segment button, I also want to have padding vertical. I think 8 is probably too much. They were really flat in here. So I think 4 should be enough. And we need border radius. We need really big border radius. Border radius of like 50. Yeah, that looks like a pill or something. I think that's actually pretty good. Now, the segment button pretty much needs the same, but has no background color. The segment text should also have the same setup, but in that case, the color would be the primary color. Primary, and I think I don't want to have bold font. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that looks already quite nice. Once again, don't worry too much about that it displays the whole time. We're gonna add a little animation to that, and we're also gonna add the shadow soon. So I think we probably should add the shadow now. So that view is already wrapped around it. I'm going to justify content center. That will also, that should also put my items correctly in the center. Why are they not in the center yet? We're gonna have to figure that out. Honestly, actually, I think it might actually not be that bad. What if I add something like padding top in here? That could work. I think it could work. It already looks pretty nice. I really like that view. Why is the change not working? Oh yeah, we're not calling the function yet. We can probably do this so it becomes really interactive already. So on press of our touchable opacity, we call select category with the current index. So we're going to do function here. Okay, and now, yeah, now I can change this. This is cool. I want to add something that it actually also scrolls this view, but we're going to do this in a second. Let's for now add the shadow. So we have the segments shadow here. We're going with a shadow color of black. A shadow offset with 0 height. Let's see what this gives us. I don't see anything. Yeah, we don't have it yet. Shadow opacity. I think we need a bit something that is more clear. This is certainly not what I wanted to see. I mean, it looks interesting, but it's totally not adding in the right place. Let's see, what is wrong here? I think this view needs to take up 100% width and height to actually apply it to the bottom of that view. So that was a little fix, and I feel like we added the segment shadow definitely in the wrong place. So segment shadow goes around here, and there were, how in the world is this adding the shadow to my touchable opacity? I mean, it's interesting, but honestly, that should definitely not happen. Okay, why is it adding the did I mess something up in here? Okay, we got my sticky segments. These sticky segments, by the way, need an additional styling in here. Maybe we can just do this in the sticky segments actually, and say that the overflow is hidden. So then it gives us this hard border down here, and I think we require that for our animation. I'm going to just set the padding bottom as well. So if we give this a bit of padding bottom, it should work. Now, I really don't know why the segment button, I mean the actual segment button is using the segment shadow. So this should definitely not be the case. What I definitely know is we need a shadow radius as well to make the shadow look good, but right now I feel like we are iterating in some place in the wrong way. We do have the view around this, and then we have the scroll view, no horizontal. We have some paddings. I definitely want to align my items, so we can do this. Let's do another styling. So styles dot segment scroll view. I'm gonna call it like this, segment scroll view, and put in the stuff we had already. But additionally, I want to also align the items in the center. So I'm going to put in align items center and close it. Oops, that was not a closing. Yeah, we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. That's at least correct. I also want to add a little gap between my items. So that adds a nice little gap, maybe even a gap of 20, like just spreading this out a bit. And some padding bottom to make it a bit higher. Yeah, I mean, overall this looks good. I'm just honestly not sure how it applies the shadow to the buttons, because the shadow should just be to the outer view. So let me fix this. All right, I forgot about an important piece, and that is setting the background color. So right now it looks really ugly like this, but if I add to my segment shadow a background color, we get it like this. It is not the perfect shadow, I completely agree with you, but it's better than nothing. We can probably tweak this, as it's really hard to have a shadow like this with the absolute element and overflow getting working. So you can probably play around with these values. You can just make like the shadow opacity a bit less. As I said, it's not perfect, so it's just doing this kind of crazy shadow down there, but I think for now we're gonna live with it. More important is that this thing is showing up the whole time, and we only want to show it after we've scrolled for like 400, 500 pixels or something. So we're going to use another reanimated styling in here, and for that, as always, we're gonna create a value, a shared value. So we're not using new animated value, that would be the React Native default way, but use animated, use shared value. Use shared value from React Reanimated. So opacity initially will be 0. Then we have to create our styles object. So animated styles equals use animated style, just like we did before. I think we used this on, yeah, where we animated the button at the bottom. So this animated styles can then be applied to our view. So let's find it somewhere. Here's the animated view. So after sticky segments, I'm now adding my animated styles, which would, by the way, already hide this. Now, at some point, we want to show this. So we're going to implement a new function. It doesn't really matter where we do this. Const on scroll, which will get a scroll event. and we will be able to grab the content offset of that scroll event. And if this value is above, let's see, I don't know, 350 or something, if y is, what did I do here? If y is greater than 350, we will call or set opacity value to 1, but probably not like this. We're gonna do it a slightly different way. As you might know, this would immediately set the value. So probably let's give that a try. Import and export may only appear at the top level. Where did I use that? I'm sorry. Export. Oh, I messed a bracket somewhere. Animated styles. On scroll is not yet finished. Yeah. So on scroll will go to the scroll event of the parallax view. Yeah, that actually has a scroll event. It's passing through, and we can catch this now with our function. So after we've scrolled at an offset of 350, I expect this to show up or hide. Yep. We could probably change the value to whatever you prefer, but I think this should be close enough. Now, we don't want this to animate appear immediately, so instead of giving it a direct value, we're using with timing 1. Of course, this also comes from reanimated, and we're doing it with timing 0. So now we have this nicely fading in effect of our bar, and you see how these views come together, one piece at a time. Take a look at the first part, take a look at the sections, take a look at the sticky header, and just go through each of them on their own. It is pretty much finished. There's just one more thing. So in the official application, when you click this, it also scrolls this view. And at least I wanted to do a bit of scrolling from code. So let's do this, as this is quite an interesting thing to implement. So first of all, we're going to grab a reference to the overall scroll view. We're going to use ref for that. So use ref, and that will be of the type scroll view, and that's going to be null initially. Then we will also grab a reference to each of those items, which is actually not that intuitive, because we have to set it up as an array of touchables. So touchable opacity. Or I think this could also be null, but let's keep it like this. And we already have the active index. That's at least good. So now we can get or set actually our scroll ref by going to the scroll view that is around here, because we're gonna at some point tell this, hey, please scroll to 500, scroll to 600, wherever the element might be. So therefore, let's find this. Scroll view is here. And let's set the ref to the scroll ref. Good. Now, the other ref is not that intuitive, as I said. It's going to be on all the touchable opacities. And the hack here is to call a function for every ref. And this is, I think this is not what I want. I mean, for every element, well, actually it should work. For every element, it's setting our item ref current at the index to that element. It's also adding this to make sure it's not null. But I mean, in that case, it's pretty obvious that this is not going to be null. So now when I click on something, which we can do with select category. So when I click on pasta or pizza, it already called select category. We now just need to extend this with a bit of functionality. So we're going to grab the selected button from items ref current index. This is going to be the selected touchable opacity. We should be able to lock this out. So a bunch of things, but overall, where's the starting point? Overall, this should be, well, it's not showing, but it's a touchable opacity nonetheless. The cool thing is that we can now grab the position or get the position of that element on the screen. So we can use selected.measure, and this will give us the exact position of something on the screen. And once we got that, it is super easy to simply call our scroll ref, which is the surrounding bar, .current, .scroll to, current, yeah, I can do it like this. Could be null scroll to, and then pass in the object of where you want to scroll. So I want to scroll to, let's say I want to scroll to 200. We could do it just like this. If I click this now, it would just scroll somewhere randomly. However, we will use the X value here. So it should scroll an element exactly to the start. But as we know, we have this little offset. So I'm going to with -16, which would show the element as close there as possible, but focused with that offset. And I'm also adding Y0 and animated true. And by the way, we're not really interested in the other stuff, so we can get rid of this. So now we have it. We can scroll this. It focused nicely and slowly to a specific item. Also, we got the nice reanimated animation. The only thing, again, is that I would really love to scroll the section list to the right section, but it was basically impossible to access the section list here in the parallax scroll view. If you figure out a solution to this problem, please let me know in the comments. Open up a gist or GitHub repository, anything with the fix, and I'm gonna put it into the description so people can see it, because that will really make the page perfect. And I spent hours trying to get this to work, because it's really cool. Like, you click here and it updates, or actually it works also the other way. You scroll to pizza and it focuses pizza up there, but therefore you would have like a listener on the section list to see which section is currently active. So we won't overdo. This video will become anyway pretty long, and we're, I think, now finished with this view. So the remainder of this tutorial, of this big build, should be about the items. So creating the item view with another animation, and then talking about the cart and the checkout. Alright, so the next screen we want to tackle is the actual dish page, which, as we can see, brings up this modal view. So we can see this here because, like, we got the same cart style we had before. We have a close button. We have an image, which actually in the real application fades in. So we're going to use a little animation also for the text. So we're going to make this an appealing view. At the bottom, we're gonna have this area. I'm just gonna skip this first part and we will just do the button so we can add something, and we will just do the dummy functionality and then later add our state logic to this. So that's the general plan for that page. We should begin by adding a new file under the modal folder, and I'm just going to call this dish.tsx React Native functional. Oh, come on. Is it too early for you? Oh, I should probably call it not TSH, but TSX. That would make more sense. Yeah, here we go. So that's better, right? Okay, dish page. We're gonna include this now again in our layout file, because we want to make this appear pretty much, where do we use the modal? We use the modal here for the filter page. So I'm going to copy that block, add it again, and then this will be modal / dish. We're gonna say presentation is modal. The header title will be, well, let's just make it empty, because in the screen there's actually no header title. And I still want to show the header area because of that button up there. So that would make sense. We don't really need a header style, header shadow visible. I think we won't see that anyway. And header left, yes, needs a button, which we'll use navigation go back. That should actually be cool. And close outline. However, I think we need some custom styling. Let's see. We're gonna hit save here, and on the details page we will say that inside the render item we're now going to modal / dish, and once again we get the code completion here. So let's go into the page, select one meal, and this page comes up. Okay, not too bad. However, the header should be transparent. I think we can set this as an option. So header transparent, going with true. So now it looks like this. That makes more sense. I don't think we actually need the header shadow, because if it's transparent, there should be no shadow. But at this point, we also need to give this a white background. Maybe we can do this later, because right now we can't really figure out the size of that anyway. So let's continue with the dish page. So on the dish page, we could actually, I think we should actually be able to get the actual ID in our assets data restaurant, I think we have a function, to get the dish by ID, which will just go through the meals of a restaurant here, of our dummy fake restaurant, and grab that item. So we should also actually send the ID to that page. So therefore, let's go back to the details page, and where we create our link here. Right now we just navigate to /modal/dish, but we want to include some information. So therefore, I'm going to make this an object now, and we're gonna say, okay, please use the path name what we had before, and please also use the following params. So I want to also pass an ID, which in this case would be item.id. I think we have no code completion on that. At this point, we arrive on the dish page with an actual ID of the meal we selected, and we can just grab this by saying const ID, the structure, the use local search params from the expo router. I will just do a little lock here. So let's see. I'm clicking something and I get ID 1. If I click something else, I get ID 3, or something here, ID 7. Okay, so our logic works, and we should be able to get the actual item by saying const item equals get dish by ID using our ID. And again, I want to use the path alias. Argument of type string is not assignable to type number. Okay, yeah, get dish by expects a number, and the argument from the local search params, if you don't use any types here, will be an ID, so will be a string. So with a plus, you can simply convert that string to a number. Super secure way of doing this. Okay, so we got our view. We're gonna set up some styles as always. Style sheet create. And as always, I'm going to get started with a container styling using flex1 and a background. You don't like that when the thing is not closed yet. Let's see. Style sheet. Yeah, I haven't actually added the import. I can't blame you this time. It's my fault. You're cool. You're cool. I don't have colors white, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that FFF should be white. So let's apply this here for the style. Styles.container. We only got one style right now. Didn't I call this styles? Oh yeah, I made it duplicate. I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay, this is our container. Maybe if I give it the color red, we should see the difference. Okay, cool. Now at this point, we can also finish up our button up here. So in our layout file for the touchable opacity up here, we should now set some style. Do we have a style sheet here? No, so let's just do it ourselves. I'm going with a background color of white. Then we need a border radius and probably some padding. Yeah, that looks good. Probably a bit too much padding. Yeah, that's definitely too much. Let's use 6 padding. Yeah, that's good. That's good. We're done with that button. Thank you, Red Debugging. You served your purpose, so we can go back to the actual page. Now, on that page, at the top, we want to have the image in the background. So we're gonna get started with an image tag, and that image source will be our item.image. And we probably need some, yeah. Okay, not too bad. It's good. Like if you see something on the screen, that's usually good. That's progress. We just need some right styling here. So let's do our own image styling. And I'm gonna add the image styling here. Styles.image. Okay, we're gonna give this a width of 100, and maybe that solves the problem. Nah, it's not really. Yeah, we should probably set a specific height. Let's use something like 300. Yeah, that looks good. That should look good. By the way, you should notice that if I click on something else, it already shows the other image. Like, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Nice. Also, that button closes it. Yeah, so we're really good here. Below that, I'm going to show a little view. I'm just going to give that in general some padding. I don't want to do another styling element here. And then we're gonna add the text, which would be the the item name, and below that we have another text element with not the description. I actually don't know what it is. Name, it's info. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. Font size bold. We're probably gonna give this some margin bottom of like 8 or so. Yeah, that looks good. And I'm gonna do this now in its element, so style dish name. So then we have a clean view and don't do this in any ugly way. So that's better. The font size here, the color, actually I would rather like to use like my own colors. I hope the medium color works here. Yeah, maybe medium dark in this case. Maybe that's, I don't know. Styles dot, I don't know, dish info. We're gonna put this down here to clean up our mess that we did. But I think that's actually looking pretty legit and quite nice. Yeah, that should work. Okay, on top of that, I want to have the footer element. And I noticed whenever I work on the footer, I should change the views. So let's put this here. Let's expand this there. Let's make this here, and okay. That's also a nice exercise for your brain, like looking in different directions, so you don't get any confusion with your neck or anything else. I don't want to do that to you. So let's put our view to the bottom. That definitely needs some additional styling. We're gonna use something like footer, and then I will add that down here. Okay, do we want to? I think we will probably position this in absolute, absolute position. I also want to put in some stuff. So we need the touchable opacity in here, and that shows also the price. So we need to make a little. We actually have the price, right? Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I think, but we're gonna wrap this in another view here. So let's do, this is a touchable opacity. It will have some, we're gonna use the full button styling. I think we had that before, or at least I hope we had it. So is Copilot smart enough to figure that out? That would be pretty cool. I think it is, actually, I think it is. So this comes from React Native, and then we do have a text. Let's call this footer text. I'm going to add this below, so this is still to do, but actually maybe that's right. Maybe that's right what Copilot gave us. Where did we go wrong? Can we, I think we're cool. Like, can we just reload? Expected closing tag. Yeah, I think I forgot. Oh, forgot to close the touchable opacity. Yeah. Okay. So back to my dish. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not too bad. This is not too bad. This is a starting point. Now we're just gonna make the button appear at the bottom. Also, we can say add for and then item.price. So then we can actually have the real information in here. And we're gonna add a little function const add to cart that we're gonna trigger. Right now we won't do anything, but we're gonna already set this up for a later point. So here we go, back to the footer. Let's position this at the bottom. So position absolute. That means we have to set some specific position. So bottom, I'm gonna also say left 0 and a width of 100. Okay, that's not too bad. That should be fine. Let's add some padding. Let's do a padding of 10. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. But I also want to, we need some more margin to the bottom, right? Let's say if we add margin bottom, would that work? Yeah, that's actually not too bad. But we could probably wrap this in a save area view. I don't know. Let's give this a try. Save area view. But I don't know if this going to Scale up, yeah. But if we now give this a styling of flex 1, it should bring it down, but then it's also not really, it's not going to be really helpful, right? I've wrapped this around the whole view. Would that help us? Yeah, but then we have that that background, right? And I also want to only have this at the bottom. So let's see if we can play around with this. Let's give this a background color of red. Yeah, so that's that area. And I only want to have the safe area at the bottom. So what was the name? Edges. Yeah, I only want the edges. Okay, was this an array? I only want to use bottom. Yeah, so there we go. And now we're just going back to a white background, and then we have the perfect safe area at the bottom. Cool. Yeah, we went really nice around that. You see, usually it applies to the top and the bottom, the safe area. But if we supply the edges here, we can say, okay, please only do this at the bottom or in whatever place you want to have it. So we have that button. We have that. The footer text looks pretty nice. Oh yeah, they had this cool, they had this shadow up here. So watch here. There's this little shadow at the top. Usually you're gonna have a shadow at the bottom. So that's a bit more complicated now. We're gonna add this to the footer again. So we're gonna start with some elevation here of 10 for Android. Then we're going with the shadow color. So I usually set my shadow color to black. There's some cool generators actually that you can use. Shadow opacity and shadow radius, that's what you usually need. And now I'm going to set my height to -10. So that should show it up here. Now the footer still wraps this view here. I think I have to give this some, let me try something out. So if we give this internal view here some styling like flex direction row. Okay, then we would have it like this. Well, that won't really help us. I mean, it would add, if I had justify content, center, it would center everything, but that won't really help us in any case. If we just comment this out, we get this. The problem is I really want to have my, I think this is the same case like we had before. We need to set the background color of this view. Yeah, and then we just see the shadow up there. You see what's going on? That's a nice idea. Thanks, Simon. Really happy about finding, like I learned something myself while we figured this stuff here out. Can we increase the padding top to something bigger, or what with this? Yeah, that's actually nice. Maybe even 30. That's maybe too much. I'm learning something myself while figuring this out with you, and that's pretty cool. So we have this button, and we have that view, which is already pretty cool. Like, it's generic, it opens the information, there's everything on this page that we need to add something to the card. However, we can make this a bit cooler by simply adding animations. So if you have a view like this, it's really easy to just sprinkle in some animations. So what we're gonna do is on the image, I'm going to say this is an animated image. If I do this, I'm going to add the React Native reanimated import. And now I can do some simple stuff. Like initially I wanted to have a shared element transition, which basically you click here and then it fades into this image. However, that didn't really feel good in this scenario. And actually in the real app, what they do is they just fade it in. So we're gonna do the same. Let's do this. We can just do this right on the element now. And what we can say is we can define an entering animation. So for entering, I want to use fade in left. It should take a duration of 500 milliseconds. And actually, I'm going to apply a little delay of 400. So because this is a modal card that opens, I want to play this after the modal opens. So let's hit save. Okay, let's see if I go here. Not too bad. But I feel like we should just fade this in. Let's use just fade in. Yeah, I think this is better. Maybe we can try fade in bottom. Is there like fade in down, fade in up probably? Let's see. I don't think that this is any cooler. Fade in down. Let's give this one a try. Yeah, that's not too bad, but we got this like this white area up there. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. Nah, not really. I'm not really a fan of that. Let's just do the fade in. I think that's enough. Yeah, then it just comes in and it feels more natural. Yeah. Probably the delay is a bit too high. You can play around with those values. Same for the duration. Maybe 500 is too much. And then let's also animate the text. So let's change this to an animated text. And we're gonna say, okay, for this one, please use the following entering animation. This one should actually fade in left. I think for the text, this should look good. We're gonna do, yeah, something like this. Yeah, that looks cool. And I'm going to copy this for my last text element as well. But this should probably have a higher delay, so it looks like it comes in later. And make sure when you want to apply something like that, you're gonna have to add animated to the element, and you have to spell it correctly. So now, let's see. Fades in, and these come gently in. Yeah, I like that. We could probably also like fade this in from the bottom. I feel like this is probably too much for one view. If we now also fade this in. So I think for now, this is actually enough. And I think this is a pretty cool view and concept that you can reuse as well. I mean, you could have shared element transitions between those. You're gonna find a video on my channel about them as well. But overall, I think this is a pretty sleek details page. And with that details page and that add logic in place, we can go for something fancy. Maybe there's one more thing that we could do right now. And that is when we add something to the card, you could use something like the Expo Haptics plugin. So this is now really hard to show you in any real example. I'm just gonna show you how we include this, and then you're gonna feel it. Trust me, really in this case, you're gonna feel it. Because haptic feedback is like your device vibrates a tiny bit. Maybe I could show you like how this sounds, but I don't think so. So you would import it just as haptics up here, and then you would use a haptics notification async, just like this. So when we add something to the card, we give the user some feedback about it, and usually that is pretty cool because the user gets some real feedback. And actually, once we do this, we can also bring the user back to the previous page. So let's import use router. So yeah, we can also use router or use navigation, and then call router.back to go back to the previous page. So now if the user adds something, it will give this gentle feedback, and we will be brought back here. And on that page, we should now show our card. We've done a lot of fake stuff in this UI clone, but this time we're gonna use something actually real. So we're gonna implement state management, and we're not using Redux or anything like that, but we're using Zustand. And I've shown this in a stream before, and there's a course on Galaxies about this as well, and it is a really amazing package to manage our state. So let's go ahead by installing Zustand first of all, which is, by the way, the German word for state. So I'm going to say the German way, Zustand, which is probably hard to pronounce for some other people. The concept is pretty easy. We create a store, and in that store we have our values or functions that could change the store. We're gonna also use this in a TypeScript-like way, so that will make it look a bit different. Is there actually a TypeScript example? I thought there was like a TypeScript example. There's a lot more about this that you can learn about middleware and all sorts of cool things. So this is what we need. We're gonna create this little state interface and wrap this around our store. But the cool thing then is that we can just inject this hook in any page, just like that. We can use our store and get like the current items in the cart, the current total value. We can add something to the cart or remove it, and it is going to be really, really easy. So let's do this with a little Zustand bear. And we're gonna close this, and we're gonna actually add a new file. So I'm going with the new file under store/basket store. So this is our basket. This is going to be a TypeScript file. Cool. Now, inside, we're going to first of all import the create function like shown from not mobx. Close enough, Copilot, close enough. And I also want to export a little interface for a product. So we could have probably done this before. The product, did we not just have like the product interface somewhere already? Like, we got this from the TS file. Yeah, VS Code just inferred that. Anyway, we can create our interface now, which is the basket. Did they call this the basket store or state? Store. Yeah, it's a store. So this is going to be the basket store. But actually, the interface is not the basket store. The interface should be TypeScript. So TypeScript usage, the interface, the state. So I'm going to call this one state. And our state now has a few functions. So we're going to have our items. And yes, this could be an array of products, but I actually want to have the total number. So I really just want to make it easy for us to know how many items, so what's their total value and how many we got. Like, these will be total super easy numbers. Then we're gonna have the products. And this is not just going to be an array of products. This is actually going to be an array of the type product, and it's also going to have a quantity. So that will make it easier for us because the quantity doesn't really belong to the product interface, but in this case here for the products, we really want to have that information. So this is just a little TypeScript thing. Then we're gonna have a function add product, or an action, what it's called. And this action will add a product to our store. Then we're gonna have a remove product function. Actually, I want to, let's pass in the product. Let's make it unify. So it's always using the product. And I'm going to call this reduce because it's not really removing the product. We're just going to reduce it by 1. And then we also add like a clear card function. That doesn't require any arguments and will just return void. Cool. This is our state. With that in place, we can continue to actually define our use basket store hook. So we're gonna use create, we use our interface, just like described here, and we need a little hack here with these brackets, so we're gonna make sure that we got that in place for TypeScript to be fine with everything that we do. So then we have set, and we would also have get, by the way, more on this in the Galaxies course, but we don't really need this in today's example here. I think we need a third one to close. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's start easy. This is the default state or the initial state of our store. We won't have any products. The items will be 0 and the total will be 0 as well. Then we're gonna have functions for add product. We're gonna have one for reduce product, and we're gonna have one for clear card. So that already satisfies the interface that we created for ourselves. And now we just need to implement these functions, and then we can use them from everywhere in our application. It's going to be ridiculously easy. The easiest one is clear card actually. So let's implement our clear card. I'm gonna wrap this in the set function, which is the argument that we get here. And what we wanna set is we want to set products, items, and total back to 0. So I think I don't know if we have to return. I think this will return it in the right way already. So making it quite easy. The add product is a bit more complicated. The problem is that, oh, this is interesting. I don't want to do this. I really don't want to. Let's write this on our own. I don't trust Copilot on this yet. What we want to do is we want to check if we already have that product in our current product state. So that's why we have access to the state here. We also want to update our values here. So maybe we're going to do this first. So state.items gets one more, and state.total gets the additional product price. Now we're going to check if we already have the product by using find on our current products. If we find something, we're gonna have to update that value. Actually, Is that right? Let me think about this. If we have the product, we're gonna up its quantity, and we would return everything for the products, everything. I don't know if this is going to work. I mean, we can try, but I currently don't think it's going to work like that. Anyway, in the else case, what we want to return is for products, all the products we already have, plus the new product with a quantity of 1. So that is definitely true for this case. So I don't trust this one entirely, but maybe this is assigned and then it will just work. Maybe. So for reduce product, we're gonna of course set our state dot. Oh no, not that. Okay, yeah, we still need to wrap this. So I forgot about the set function. So set. We want to set the new state, and we always need to be careful that we don't overwrite anything else. But usually, I think by default, bear or Zustand, it's not bear, the bear is just the banner. By default, it will not overwrite the rest of the state when we use return in here. So we're gonna set the state dot total and reduce it by the current price. And then we also need to remove an item, right? Yes, I think so. Yes, should work. Okay, then we can return our object, and we're gonna set products to a map. So we're gonna iterate the map, iterate our products. If we find the product in the current products, we reduce its quantity, otherwise we just return the element. And what we're gonna do afterwards is, so after this map block here, we will also add a little filter block. And we're gonna filter out all the objects now which have a quantity of 0. So imagine you have some items in the cart, you reduce it by 1, and the amount of the item goes to 0. In that case, I don't want to have that product anymore in my state products. So that's why we add this filter block, which will filter out all the products that went to quantity 0. So I mean, it can only be 1. And probably there's a more effective way to handle this, but it should work. Also, will this work? Yeah, we're gonna see. I have some questions about to Copilot if this is the best way, but we're gonna see this in a second. So let's now see how we can use this. In our dish page, we can now use that. So we can use and extract add product straight from use, what do we call this? Use basket. Oh, I guess I forgot the export, right? Yeah. At the bottom, you have to follow up with export default use basket store. And now we can add it in here. And we don't actually need to do anything fancy, like this already works. You can reassign the state to something, but we don't really have to. So we're just going with add product in here. Expected 1 argument, okay, this should probably be our item. And the quantity of that item, okay, the quantity is at that point not included, right? No, it's not assigned to product. Type undefined is not assignable to type product. What's your problem with that? Actually, I want to do this before we go back. Let's see, let's check this out. So in our basket store, so which of these argument of type? So this is definitely set, yeah. I mean, I could probably set this up here. We could do this at the top level because in my case, I know that we will always get an item. Now, I can add this probably, but we don't really see our card. In order to show our card, we are going for the details page. So on the details page, I just want to show this bottom view here. And by the way, I only want to show this view when we actually have items in the cart. So we're going to make this a bit, dependent on the items. That means on the details page, we also gonna add or use our hook, and we're gonna use the items and the total from use basket store. Just like can you just do the import like I did before? Just do it the same way. I don't want to have these relative, just use my @ sign. I want to use the cool stuff from Expo. That's where we came for, right? So we got the items and the total. And now we're gonna just add a view. So we got the sticky segment stuff down here. Let's probably add sticky segments. And then we're gonna add footer basket. So then we're gonna see what's going on. So we will only display this if the item's length is greater than 0. That's the idea. Actually not the item length, this is not an array, items is already a number. And now we're going to add a view. Style is going to be some kind of footer styling. Yeah, I'm going to just call this footer, and I'm terrible at doing the brackets in the right kind of way. I really hate myself for that. I wish my fingers would figure that out in a better way. Actually, I think the footer is pretty much like the footer we had on the dish page. So I'm going to grab that footer and apply it in here. So I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be the same, but to some degree. So let's add it here, and we already see it coming up at the bottom, which for the smart of you indicates that we actually have items in the cart. So we just need to display them in the total value. As we can see, this should be once again a row layout in the button. So let's see, we got the view here. We're gonna put in another view. So this one will have the flex direction row. I don't want to... Okay, this is interesting. We will just go with some recommendations here of... it's enough now, enough of the recommendations. Actually, the touchable opacity belongs somewhere else, and I'm going to close the view here. We see a total of 34. That's a nice indicator. Let's see. Oh, it goes up to 51. So you see, our state is actually working. I'm really excited about this, but I want to justify my content in the center. And I don't really need to align the items. That's actually not required. I will just add a little gap of 12 here. And yes, I can already hear you. Simon, please put this down there. Yes, I will. Styles, footer, container. And I'm going to do this. Footer, container. Yes, and this time I made too many brackets, so I can't get that right. Okay, we have a total of 51 showing up there. That's already a good start. However, this is not entirely how it should look like. So we should first have a text with the total number of items, and that one needs a little styling. Then in the center, we're just gonna say text view basket, because this is eventually going to be wrapped in a touchable opacity. And then we just have the dollar total amount. However, as smart people, we're gonna do this with some styling. But we already see 3 view basket and 51, and now 4 and 68. So this should give you a little thrill that you're pretty close to what we wanted to achieve. Let's add 3 stylings. So we're gonna add a basket styling. Let's add another basket total, and then we probably, as always, we're gonna have some footer text. I think that's going to be just the white text. So footer text, basket, and basket total. Let's start. Oh, so much styling in here, right? So much styling. It really gets confusing. We could have probably done this with some other components, but then we won't really reuse them. I mean, it would give them some structure. So after this tutorial, you might be able to just like refactor this. So this view is not 300 lines long. That I'm gonna leave that open for you. So we have the 3 styles applied now: basket, footer, text. We also have the container styling. Actually, I'm going with, yeah, we still need the actual link. So this is another thing we need. Let's put in a link component. href is going to be, this is actually not a modal, by the way. Just a quick spoiler, this will be the basket page. So this is just another page pushed to the stack. So I will just make the href to basket, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna complain about this. as the basket does not exist. So we're going with href like this, and then put in a touchable opacity. And that one going to be full button. Our good old friend, the full button, is back. Touchable opacity closes here. And I think, where do we should have the full button styling somewhere. Yeah, we do. There we go. Gonna add that down here by the river. Footer, container. Okay. So, footer looks good. Almost good. The footer text color should be white. We're gonna have a font size bold and font size 16, yeah. Why is the stuff here not in a row is my question right now. I think the full button this time needs a bit better treatment. So let's say, yeah, this should be flex direction row. And then we wanna justify the content. Probably, yeah, in this case, we can really use space between, as that will or should put the items to the sides. We maybe, this button should use the full space. Yeah, now we're getting there. I do have the padding, we have the alignment, we have a border radius. The only thing is that we don't really look great in there. And also, is my footer having the shadow? Yeah, it's having the shadow. Okay, I can give it to that. But we probably also need to add either the save area once again. Would it work if I just wrap the save area around it here? Let's see. Let's give this a try. We're always here to learn. It's probably not going to work. Why is that the case? Should it be inside? I mean, it should probably give us exactly the same result. Yeah, well, okay, that fixes the problem, certainly. Also, I don't have the footer container. Yeah, the footer container does not really make any sense. This does not make sense. So I'm going to remove that and hope I don't break my layout. Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah. We're close to the finish line. The basket should now have a color of white, so this one, and a light, slightly different background color. In fact, I'm going to do something unheard of. I'm just going to define a color in here. Yeah, we're really outlaws today. Okay, and we see we just need some more padding to make that look good, and then we need a border radius of something. Oh no, actually, yep, but like a really small border radius. I feel like it should be the smallest border radius in the world. Our button is really high. Like, why is this so high, the full button? Can we probably just give it a specific height of 50? Yeah, that's maybe better. Then we should say probably putting only horizontal. Yeah, nice. We didn't really need that inside padding, so that one makes a lot more sense. Okay, and for my basket font, weight should probably also be big. Yeah, Copilot, you understand me like no one else. Okay, cool. I don't want to click that. The value here, the total, should also be white. It would cool like if Copilot just understands. I mean, it kinda Copilot understands my words as I'm saying them, but if it really like would listen to what I say while I code, just a little rant. Okay, we got 4 items, 68. I'm going to add another one, and we are at 5 items and something. We're gonna do remove items later. For now, we should be happy with this because this means our state logic seems to work. At least adding products to the state seems to work. And we should be ready now to actually add that cool basket page. So where do we put this? At the top level, I think. So let's do a new file, basket.tsx, React Native functional export. In our layout file, we're gonna define this as well, just because we can then set the right value for the back button at the top. So the back button stuff here in that area up there is what we want to figure out for our checkout or basket view. We can already now link to that page from, where was that? What's the details page? That's what it's called. So let's try to find a link, and this one should open basket now. And here we go, we're on the basket page. I really like how easy it is to use the Expo router for that kind of thing. So on our basket page, or on the layout, we can now define this. So let's try and find the right place to do this. Should be down here. As you can see, you don't have to include this in here, as Expo router automatically picks up all these new routes. However, if you want to do something custom, like we want to do right now, you need to override that entry. So name of that page is basket. Options, just like before, not opinions, these are options. And the first one, header title, will be basket, right? And header left will be untouchable opacity. I think probably what we already had before. An arrow back makes sense. Colors primary. I think this mostly makes sense what Copilot just told us. Let's see. Yeah, that's the kind of arrow I wanted to have up there. So we can reuse most of the stuff that we had before. And we can go to the basket page, on which we are now once again able to simply grab all the stuff from our store. So I can grab the products that we have, the total, the clear cart functionality, and the reduce product, and all of this from use basket store, right? Yes. Okay, so that's the really cool thing about Zustand. We got access to all of this without any problems on this page. Maybe later we're also gonna define a little order, so let's already do this. We're gonna set the state to false, so we can then update our view based on the order. That also means I'm going to wrap this in an empty fragment. And if we do have an order, then we're gonna show something like, I don't know, text cool order. So that is still to do. Additionally, we're gonna have don't have order yet. That's our main priority, and that should belong, by the way, in the fragment we opened. Otherwise, React Native will complain about this. I'm going with, okay, let's check this out. What can we do? I won't do all of these things. So I will just do like a little list of items. So just like a header, then the list of like elements, and at the bottom we have this checkout thing. I'm going, I think, with, how about we just use a little flat list in here? Pretty easy. And then we can implement all the things we actually need. So let's give this a try. We're going, as I said, flat list. I'm going to close. Actually, we can close this in here already. And I'm pretty sure we're going to use some styling. So const styles equals style sheet from React Native .create. Yes, we're going with the container definitely, and a background color of white at some point. Already close this to make it work. Cool. Now the flat list. As you can probably remember, we need to pass in some data, and the data will be my product. The flat list is not that picky about like the section list where we needed this specific setup, so we can just use it like this. Then the only requirement here is a render item function in which we can access the actual item and then display our view. So we're gonna put in a simple view element, and let's just try to put our stuff on screen. So it looks like we added these three things to our cart before. Let me add something else, like a pizza salame. Did we add that before? I don't know. The piano date. Salame. All of that is here. Great. if we use it like this, probably use some sort of row styling. So let's give this styles.row. And that row should probably have a flex direction of, guess what? Of row. Copilot, you're right with that. We're also gonna set the background color for now to, let's set it to white, yeah, because we're actually not using the container, I think. Let's get rid of the. Okay. Okay, we see, yes, that looks good. They have a white row. We probably also want to add some padding to it, so let's add a padding of 10. That spaces them out a bit more, and a gap between the stuff in that row of 20. Because besides the item name, I want to actually have the quantity as well. So the first text will be item.quantity, and then times the item.name, and at the end we're going to show the price. Item.price, item.quantity, and add a little dollars. Okay, good start. If we want to make that middle part take up most of the space, you know the deal. Set the flex to 1, so it takes up all this space here. Additionally, we can probably also up the font size a bit on this view. So I'm going to set this to 18. I'm going to do the same here, but this one, of course, has not flex of 1. First one will just get color primary. Colors.primary. Uh-oh, I feel like we've added the wrong object. No, I actually did the right. What's my primary color? Oh, I forgot. Sorry about that. And here we go. Okay, now it's better. Looks good, but I also want to have the font size. On this view, I'm going a bit dirty. Okay, that's a nice list. I now also want to render the header above, like, are the items aligned? I feel like they're not aligned. Align. I feel like I made a tiny little difference. So we want to add a list header component. That's the cool thing. Again, if you have different items that come before that list or after that list, you would do it like this. So for the list header component, let's just add a text element with items. So that should show up there, right? And we're going to give that some section styling. So styles.section. And put this down here. So that's like our section header. Copilot, what we give in that case? Something like this. Yeah, I think that should actually look fine. Maybe also some padding horizontal. Probably even more. Add more. Yeah, feeling too much. Whatever, I can't figure out the right place for this right now. I feel like somewhere here, maybe actually nowhere. Yeah, well, let's just keep it in there. So this is our header. I also want to have these gray borders once again. So we need the item separator as well. So that's really a lot about the flat list. Like just getting used to how and what we can do with a flat list is pretty important. So that's just going to be, I don't think we need it like this. Do we? That's interesting. For the item separator component, actually return. That's cool. But I don't want to use that color. I want to use colors.gray. Makes it a bit more, yes, it's cool. Okay, we got the list header. We got the item separator. And I want to also add a footer component. So let's do this here, list footer component. And by the way, did you notice that we just, without any problems, use our state? Like, that's pretty cool, huh? You totally didn't notice it. And you thought using the state was hard, right? Nah, it's not. It's not with Zustand. So let's just do a few things in here. I want to do like a total row with the values. I'm just going to call this styles.total row. Okay, to make sure that we don't mess up. And I'm going to add the total row styling down here. So for the total row, we're going to use the same again, flex direction row, justify content, space between, a bit of padding. I think we use 10, 16, I don't know, and a background color of white. So with that total row, I can now add like the different additional subtotal, service fee, or whatever down there. Okay, we got the view, text. Do we have like a style for total? I don't know. Subtotal, and then we do, I don't really know. I think that's exactly the subtotal. Give the bigger. Probably, I feel like we should do something about this. We're gonna give this a bit different color, so the text will get styles.total, and we're just gonna use like a medium gray color, so sticking out like the other stuff. Yes, font size will be this, but color will be colors.medium. Yeah, you figured that one out. Yeah, okay. Maybe we can do like medium dark. We can argue about that. Yeah, well, I will actually keep it to medium. There should probably be something between those, but for now we're gonna keep it. Also, I want to have a little border at the top, so I'm just gonna do like a fakey one here. Let's do a view, style, height of 1, and a background color of gray. Strings. Strings somewhere. Yeah. We need to go back. Okay, now we have that border up there. Actually, we could add that to our header component as well, to section. I don't really want. Oh no, I closed it. We're just gonna continue and wrap this up. So we have this one total row. I'm just going to copy this. Let's say now we have a service fee, and we're probably gonna add like a little fees object. Really, we're trying to make it at least somewhat dynamic. So let's make this a const fees. We're gonna add a service fee, service of $2.99, and we're gonna add a delivery of whatever, $5.99. And then we can use this in here, fees dot, what was this, service? And then we're gonna copy this and make it a delivery fee, and delivery. Okay, so we got the 3 different fees down here, and then we should have the order total as well. Order total, so this is the final value. And that one will actually get a bit bigger font weight to make sure that people see what they're ordering. And this is going to be the total value plus fees.service plus fees.delivery. And that looks good. Fear that at some point this might give us a strange value. So I really would like to put this in brackets. I've seen strange things in other applications, and I'm going to say fixed 2, just in case. Want to make sure that we round this to 2 digits. Not the perfect way, but here we go. This is our list. And if I add something to that deal, once another vegetariano, we should see that the price changes and everything else is updated as well. Now let's add below this flat list. Okay, let's see where the flat list starts and ends. Yeah, we've wrapped this in the empty fragment, so we can now do another view which will become our footer. So once again, style is going to be styles.footer. Footer, and can we probably copy this? I mean, we should be. So let's copy our footer from somewhere we used it. Here. And we probably also need the full button and the footer text. I'm just going to copy all of that. We might have to apply a change here and there, but it should be a good starting point for us nonetheless. So that shows the footer down here. Did we add the save area view inside? Does anyone still remember? Yeah, we kind of did it. So we're going to apply the same thing in here again. And close the save area view and make sure you add the import. Okay, I feel like we did not add the right import. Why are you complaining about the edges? Maybe because there's no content inside? That could be a reason. So I'm gonna put in touchable opacity, definitely. Touchable opacity from React Native. Style will be, of course, styles.fullButton. Okay, on press. We're gonna actually place our own order on press. So I will not use set order. I will use like function start checkout. And we can implement that in a second because this is just going to be a little fakey here. And start checkout will do something. And then we have the button down here. The only thing I want to show is actually not that. I want to show place order. Yeah, I think what did they do? Let's just call this order now. Okay, that should show also our text in the center. So let's check out the full button. I don't want to have justify content space between. You don't really need flex direction row, align item center. Should be fine. Flex one, hate, cool. The text is cool as well. I only want to have the justify center. Now the order now is fine. That looks better. And we have our basket plate pretty much finished already. Let's see, do we need anything else in this case? I feel pretty good about this one. Let's see. I actually don't think that should be fine. We have enough padding and margin. What are you mad about? Like my edges. What's the problem with the save area view on this page? Like we added this on all the other views and you've always been fine. And now you're complaining about... okay, yeah, I need to add it from React Native save area. Good point. Not from React Native. Make sure people to import the save area from React Native save area context instead. And once we got this, we can place an order, which would, by the way, clear our card. So that would be a nice place to give this a try. So I'm going to set my order true. And yeah, I don't really need the other. And I will clear the card. So let's see. And we're back to my cool order. And also we now see that we don't have elements. So the whole state management thing seems to work in our application. Again, adding something shows it up. We can go there and we see our items. So we have the perfect implementation of our state management in that app. So now there are just two additional little things that I want to do on this page. First one is we're going to install another package. So I'm gonna, I don't know what this did, but eventually I'm just gonna back here. So we're gonna install the React Native confetti cannon. I'm really a fan of the confetti cannon. So let's add this to our basket page up here. And we have to add that element somewhere on our page. So we can't just, I think we can't just start it. So therefore, when we have an order, we're gonna show the confetti cannon, and there are some default settings like 200 pixel elements. We can set the origin to some place. Close this. We have the fall speed. We have fade out true, and I'm also gonna set this to auto start true. So this will only start when the order becomes visible. Let's see. Once we place an order, kaboom! We have confetti. I just wanted to have some fun. Please, people, let me have fun, okay? So we can add this again, and then once we are done, we will also display like some random order information. We could display something like an additional little view. I'm gonna do the styling now in here. I'm going with margin top of 50%, so I'm just gonna like somewhat to the middle, apply this, add some padding to the elements inside, and align the items in the center. And close this. And actually, I'm going to set my order to true so we can better debug that. So yes, then I will get like the immediate confetti. That's not a big problem. The most, end region, what was that? That was interesting. The most important thing is like adding now a little text here. That should also get some style. Thank you for your order. Yeah, sounds good. Let's just go with that. If I hit save, show up. And then we're gonna add another button, which brings me back. So let's use the expo router, href, brings us back to the initial page as child, as we wrap some touchable opacity inside. Style, I don't know, we're gonna probably do this with like the order button again, and then put in text, styles, that could probably be the footer text. Styles.footer text. We had that before, and let's start new order. Do we have a footer text? We should have the. Yeah, we do have that. Oh yeah, it's style. And the order button should be the same like the full button. Just some padding. We need a border radius. We need to align the items. That's good. But I want to make that definitely bigger. Let's say I'm going with the width. Could we probably... Is this inside a flex layout? Not, it is, but then not again. We're just going to do this now in an absolute way. So just going to set the width to 250. And the height to 50. Oh, come on, you had it, Copilot. Height to 50, and then we need to align the items in the center, content center, and that should probably have some margin top. Where do we left it? Yeah, let's give that one margin top at least. Okay, thank you for your order. Brings us back. So let's try this one more time. We go here. It says thank you, and we can do a new order. I'm gonna set this to false for now. So here is my card. I would have some items. I would click order. At that point here in start checkout, you would submit this to your own backend, as we do like a little fake thing here. We're not really doing this. But we can place the order, we get the confetti, our basket should be cleared, and all the items are gone. So yeah, we made some abstractions, but overall, the whole flow of adding stuff in Zustand now works cool. So you see there's just one tiny little thing left that I want to show you. So I'm gonna one last time, no, I want to keep it. For now, I mean, we're pretty close to the finish line. The only thing left is that we can't do, like, we can only clear the whole card. We can't remove single items. And usually this is a perfect place for a swipe to delete. And how can we implement that? Well, that's not that easy. But if we check out the reanimated or the React Native gesture handler here in the software mentioned GitHub repository, they have some cool examples for a swipeable row. An Apple-style swipeable row, and there's also a Gmail-styled swipeable row. And I want to take this row here, because it's an example. I'm going to copy that over to my app, and we could probably do this in a slightly better way, but I want to make this my own. So I want to have some customization anyway. I'm going to call this swipeable row.tsx. I'm going to put this in. So by default, this is not throwing any errors. We have already the React Native gesture handler. So all of this is cool. If we now simply apply this, it should, I think, already work. So we need to go to the basket page. And on the basket page, we're gonna wrap this in the render item. So where we render this row, where's that place? Okay, it's here in the render item. I will wrap this whole thing in a swipeable row that we just added. It's called Gmail swipeable row. I feel like I don't want. I just want to call this Swipeable row and not Gmail. Swipeable row. Put this around the view here, and I feel like import is messed up. And of course, we're making an ad and an ad. Okay, without any change, we have made this a swipeable row. This is so cool, and it works really, really nice. Now, there's still a bit we have to customize. As I said, that's why we brought in the component. However, is there already like an on delete? No, the row doesn't have that yet. So we're gonna get into that swipeable row, and we actually it has buttons left as well. We don't really need that. So I'm going to remove the private render left action, as that part won't be relevant. The whole thing here. So we don't only need the render right action. This will on press this dot close. For inside, we don't really need an animated view. The only thing I want in here is like an Ionicon. Name trash outline, size 22, color white. Let's see, yeah, probably a bit more margin. Style margin right of, I don't know, something. So now if I do it, that's in the right, probably. Okay, cool. So we made our first customizations because this is really easy to customize. We have the swipeable row, we have an update, and we have a close. And then we have the render function. And what I want to do here, so render left action does not exist anymore. We have the friction, we have a left threshold, that's cool. Enable trackpad, 2-finger gesture, render, right actions, and we have the children. We also don't really need the styling for left action in that case anymore. The rest is, I think, pretty fine. We also don't really have the action icon anymore. We only have this one. It's also using right to left. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. What I want to do is I want to add a function that when this is all done, it looks like we are not using scale, by the way. When this is all done, it should trigger a function that we pass to it in the props. And therefore, we're gonna change the signature. So we have the extends props children unknown, but they're gonna be another prop that we want to add. So we're gonna say and there will be an on delete function that I will pass to this prop to this component. So gonna be a callback void here, and that should essentially be enough for us, I think. And when we close this, so this is called when we press that button. We could also trigger this at a different point if we wanted to. We're gonna call this props on delete. So this is my trick here now. Now I'm going back to the basket page, which complains because we have actually not added that on delete. So let's update it here, on delete. What do I want to do on delete? Well, I want to call the function from our state, from our store, use reduce product. So we're going ahead with reduce product. And reduce product will be current item, right? Yeah, I think so. And with that in place, let's see, let's add some more stuff to the basket. I'm going with this one, living life, and I can also do living your best life a few times, so then we can see this probably better. So living your best life is 3 times in it. Anyway, delete it. Oh, it's back to 2. It's changes and everything. It just worked. And we have that swipeable row. I think, yeah, we should probably implement that at this point. It should also delete it. That would be a little addition, but so far I think pretty cool. It filters out stuff that is not included anymore, and we just have the whole functionality of our state now in place. And we can also, of course, trigger an order which completes our full flow. So I think at this point, the UI clone of that app is pretty finished. as we've implemented all essential functionality. Alright, and that's it for this massive build. I assume this video is going to be 4 or 5 hours long, I haven't checked yet, but if you've made it this far, congratulations. You should have learned a bunch of skills about React Native in general, about routing using the Expo router, about state management, animations, how to build views, how to use section list, flat list, use Google APIs. We've learned so many things in this tutorial, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please subscribe to the channel and share this video. That would really help me a lot. And of course, if you want to learn more, if you want to take your React Native skills to the next level and build up your career as a React Native developer, go check out galaxies.dev. This is my online school focused on React Native and helping developers just like you get into React Native, use the latest packages and build awesome, amazing cross-platform apps. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button and leave a comment if you want to see more of these huge clone applications in the future. Hope you can replicate everything, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, happy coding, Simon.